All right, let's talk about something that can be a real game changer if you're caring for an aging parent. And it's not some high tech gadget, it's a notebook. Seriously, we're going to break down how a simple vision diary can take all those confusing worries about eyesight and turn them into crystal clear data that a doctor can actually use.
It all starts with something just like this, a comment that sounds so minor you could easily just brush it off. But this one sentence, it was the start of a really scary vision crisis that could have ended in permanent sight loss, and it highlights this huge problem we all face. How do you get a doctor to listen, to really listen, when you can't find the right words to explain what's wrong?
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? We're dealing with a crisis of vague words. These subtle symptoms are just so hard to pin down. And that leads to this cycle of frustration. Your parent feels like they're being ignored, you feel totally helpless, and the doctor, well, they just don't have enough to go on. You can see exactly how this happens. It's this slow, quiet creep. A few weeks back, it was just smudged streetlights. Then last week, maybe the pages in a book looked a little yellow. By the time you finally make it to the clinic, all those little details have just melted together into a blur. So when the doctor asks that critical question, when did this start? The answer is that one useless word, recently. Well, what does that even mean? Yesterday? 2 months ago? That difference is absolutely everything. So what's the solution here? It's not a fancy app, it's not some expensive piece of equipment. It's the simple, almost old-fashioned power of a pen. This whole thing is about taking that mess of confusion and those fuzzy memories and turning them into something sharp and clear. And here it is. This is the transformation in action. On the left, you have what doctors hear all day long. It's been off for a while. It's so vague, it's basically useless. But look at the right. With the diary, it becomes wavy lines 3 times a week, mostly in the evenings. Now that is a clue. That's a real data point a specialist can sink their teeth into. And let's be super clear about this. The point of the diary isn't for you to play doctor at home, not at all. Its job is to gather evidence, to spot patterns. It transforms you from a worried bystander into a reliable witness. It makes what you're seeing actually count when you're in that exam room. Okay, so this sounds pretty useful, right? But is it for everyone? Who should actually go out and grab a notebook today? Let's figure out who this is really for. Let's just run through a quick mental checklist. Think about your parent or loved one. Are they over 60 without a recent eye exam? Do they have other health issues like diabetes or high blood pressure? Have you heard them mention things like wavy lines or dull colors? Or maybe they've been tripping or misjudging stares a bit more lately. What about headaches after reading? Every single one of these is a little red flag. So what's the magic number? It's really simple. If you found yourself nodding yes to 2 or more of those questions, starting a vision diary is a really, really smart move. And if you hit 4 or more, well, it's probably time to start that diary and get an appointment on the books. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We know why this is so important, and we know who it's for. So now for the most important part, what on earth do you actually write down in this thing? And this is the question, isn't it? It can feel a little intimidating, like you're going to miss something crucial or write down the wrong thing. But I promise you, it's way simpler than it sounds. Here are the 7 key things to focus on. First, is it one eye or both? And if so, which one is worse? Second, what time of day does it happen? Mornings, nights? Third, what are they doing when it happens? Reading, watching TV? Fourth, and this is so important, don't ignore those weird one-time symptoms. Write them down. Fifth, how did it make them feel? Dizzy, uneasy? That's valuable info. 6, any physical stuff like headaches, actual eye pain, or seeing halos around lights. And last, number 7, make a big deal about the very first time a new symptom shows up. That date can be a priceless clue. And look at this. This is a real entry. The person who wrote this almost erased it because they thought it sounded, well, kind of silly. A gray cloud in the middle of a book page? But they left it in. And the payoff was huge. That silly-sounding little note was the exact piece of the puzzle the specialist needed. Seeing that specific description, written down twice, let the doctor just fast-track everything. That one little line, captured in a cheap notebook, almost certainly saved a huge chunk of vision in one eye. Okay, so you've done it. You've got the diary, you've got the notes. The final piece of the puzzle is turning all that information into real, concrete action. That means knowing what to do with it at the doctor's office, how to handle it if your parent is reluctant, and even how it can help with the cost. What's amazing is the diary itself becomes a decision-making tool. It helps you figure out what can wait and what absolutely cannot. If the notes just show a mild occasional blur, okay, you keep logging. If you're seeing new entries or things seem to be getting worse, that's a signal to call the clinic. But if you ever write down sudden vision loss, flashes of light, or anything that feels like a curtain coming down, that's an emergency. That's a same-day trip to get it checked out.
And we have to talk about money for a second, because it's a huge barrier for so many people. In the US, basic Medicare usually doesn't pay for routine eye exams, for glasses, but it does help cover exams that are considered medically necessary. And guess what? Your diary with all those detailed entries is the perfect documentation to prove that this visit isn't routine. It's essential.
And you can just see the difference here. A routine exam could be a couple $100 right out of your pocket, but a medically necessary exam justified by the evidence in your notebook could be mostly covered by Medicare Part B. That simple act of writing things down can literally save you money. But, of course, there's the big, predictable hurdle. You bring up this fantastic idea, and your parent hits you with this. They see it as a chore. Or, even worse, sometimes they're afraid that writing the symptoms down somehow makes them more real. So, how do you get them on board? Here are 4 really gentle strategies. First, don't call it a diary for them. Frame it as doing a favor for the doctor. Second, make it seem tiny. Just 1 line a day is perfect. Third, try to tack it on to a habit they already have, like their morning coffee or tea. And finally, if they're just too tired or frustrated, just offer to be their scribe. The goal is just consistency, not a perfect novel. And that's really what this all boils down to. You do not need to become an eye expert overnight. Your job is not to diagnose anything. Your job is simply to be a good witness, to capture what's really happening, 1 little line at a time, put it on paper, and let the ink do the worrying for you.